wanted to get a little bit of a close-up shot on the Avid 11 rack's front panel. We could easily do this with the graphic, and that's probably what we're going to do for the back panel, so we don't have to pull it out of the rack, and you'll get a good, clear idea. But I wanted to actually touch some of the buttons and turn some of the knobs to show you how this thing works. If we start down on the right-hand corner here, you'll notice the guitar input, and it says True Z. The True Z input is Avid's design, and what that does is it's an input that helps your impedance be matched properly, and it makes it ultimately feel more like a guitar amp. It adds to more of that guitar amp feel by making sure your signal responds like it would in a guitar amplifier. Next to it is an output called Output to Amp, number 1, and you can send signal to that, so you can come out and go to whatever kind of device you'd like to. That's all programmable on the sort of internal aspects of the software that we'll see. Next to that is the headphone jack, and the headphone jack actually can be programmed to have a different level than the master level, which is cool. We'll talk about that. Above it here is your interface for a microphone. You have a gain control as well as a pad, a 48-volt phantom power switch for condenser mics, and then here's your input for your microphone. What's cool is this is where you can turn all of your effects on or off. You can, if you're using reverb or delay, you can turn those on or off, and you see the lights light up. You can also assign modulation effects or distortion effects to any of those buttons. Basically, they correspond with your said program. When you, if you want some kind of overdrive in your signal chain, that will be underneath the distortion button. You see how it just goes on and off, and it's also changing the screen as I do that too. We'll get into that when we jump into a tone. If you want to access the tuner, you hold this button here, and you'll see that the tuner comes on. It's a great tuner. I've tested it and A/B'd it against some of the best tuners, and it really hangs in there. That tuner button is also a tap tempo function, so I can tap my delays and that sort of thing at a tempo if I choose. Next to all those buttons is a scroll knob, and when I scroll, it basically changes the patch setting. So if I were to go back to my bluesy deluxe sound there, you'll see it takes me right back to it. These knobs here will correspond to a number of different things. If I hit this edit button, you can see that it'll bring up sort of a signal chain look to it, and I can choose my amplifier. Right there it says Lux Vibrato, and I could it then, whatever knob is corresponding here in this amber color will change the particular parameter I'm using there. And as you saw with the scroll knob, I can go through different effects and parameters as well, and I can start to get deeper into my programming. If I want to get back out of that, I just hit the edit back button again, which is right here, and you can see that I'm just back to the screen from which I started. If I want to get maybe to the amplifier controls, I will just scroll over to amp, and I'll select that amp. Oops, let's make sure we go to the one I had, which is deluxe. As you can see, they're all changing there. So it's nice to know how to access the unit this way too, in case you don't have a computer hooked up. We select that, and then you'll see that I have volume, treble, bass, and you can also notice how these knobs are turning from orange to red, which is pretty cool. So as I do that, and I go, if I find orange or amber as they call it, it'll basically tell me that, hey, that's where you had it programmed, and anything that you've done otherwise will be red. And again, we can edit and go back out of that. What's cool though is if I want to turn like the vibrato on, I can do that, which is the the tremolo of the amplifier. All those little hidden things are really accessible pretty easily right there. So we'll get back out of that. We'll edit to my name, which is CC Bluesy Deluxe there, and a couple other functions. The save function, I would hit that twice if I wanted to save those sounds to my preset. I don't in this case. If you were to just grab the scroll knob and go back, you'll be back to your normal sound. The volume control sends the overall volume out of the unit to your mixer or to your recording device if you were using the direct outs. So that's an important knob too. And then they throw this cool power switch on here, which I'll try to put in the shot here. There we go. And it kind of looks like an amp, so I always find that to be pretty cool. So that's the front panel. Not much to it. And there's some detailed stuff online I'm sure you can find if you want to get a little closer view. Okay, let's go around to the back.